Hello everyone and welcome to our new lesson, User Account Management. In this lesson, we will learn how can we manage user account in Linux file system. There are a few commands that we use to manage user account. The first one is user add, is to create a new user, group add to create a new group, user delete delete a user that is already created, group delete to delete a group, and user mod, which is to modify a user. Now whenever we create a new user, those user management are created. Their record is maintained in 3 different files. The first one is etc password, second one is etc group, and the third one is etc shadow. Now remember, etc password is not a complete word password, it's just passwd. The example to run a user command which includes all the parameters that you have to define is as follows. It goes with user add -g with option to add a group, -s to option to give a shell environment, -c to define the user description, -m -d to define the user home directory and the user itself, and the user home directory itself and the name of the user. Now let's look at our Linux machine and we will practice these commands and learn these commands more into detail. I will log into my Linux virtual console. Let's move this a little to the side so we could see what are the commands that we will be using. Okay, always first thing first, you need to find out who you are. You are yourself. Where are you? You are in your home directory. Perfect. And what's inside of your home directory? Just to confirm you are in the right place. Yes, you are. When you have confirmed this, just do the clear screen. Now we're gonna create a user called let's say Spider-Man. Before I create a user, I wanted to add that user to a group that is, let's call it superheroes. So in order to use these commands, you have to be root. So become root su space -dash. Okay, the first command that we will run is user add space Spider-Man. You hit enter. It gives you the prompt back, which means it did create your user Spider-Man. How do we verify if the user is created? There's a command to check if user is created. It's called id Spider-Man, and it'll tell you that there is an ID assigned to the user Spider-Man, and the group is created called Spider-Man, and the group's ID, so on. You could also verify by going to the home directory. So home. If you notice that it created right here the Spider-Man. The next command that we want to learn is group add. I want to create a group, a new group, and the command to add a new group is group add, and I wanted to name it superheroes. It adds the group. We could verify it by looking at the group file, which we'll cover in a little bit, but if you wanted to see it, you could just do cat etc groups. And at the bottom you'll see it created this group name superheroes. Now I want to delete the user I created Spider-Man. the command to delete is user delete. Now if you want to delete the home directory of Spider-Man, which is right here, you will run the command user delete with -R as well, so it would delete the directory as well. So it deleted the user, and let's check if it deleted the home directory. Yes, it did delete the home directory as well. So it deleted that. I created a user before just called Spider, just for testing purposes, as you can see it here. The next command we have to do is, of course, the group delete. So let's try to delete the group. Let's not delete our group superheroes. We'll create a new group and we'll delete it just for training purposes. So let's create group, add no new group. Let's call this no new group. The group add is created. We can verify it by going to the group file and see at the bottom it says no new group. That's the new group ID. We could delete that no new group, delete no new group, and it's deleted. We could verify again at the bottom. See, it's gone. The next command that we have to learn is user mod. This command is used to modify the users. You could run man on user mod to see what it does. It modifies a user account. If you notice, A appends it as a user to supplementary group, C the new value user password, D change the home directory. So these are the things if you wanted to do after you create a user. So we will use this command to add our user Spider-Man. Let's see if we have Spider-Man first. Oh, we deleted Spider-Man, so let's create Spider-Man again. User add Spider-Man. As soon as you add the user add Spider-Man, it automatically creates its group as well. If you don't specify, it creates a group with the same name as user IDs. Now I wanted to add Spider-Man to a different group as well, which is the superhero. So how do we do that? User mod -G, what's the name of the group? Superheroes, and the name of the user that I wanted to add is Spider-Man. Hit enter and it is added. How do we verify it? You do cat @c, but instead of doing the cat and viewing the whole file, how about we use grep command and just type Spider-Man from @c group file, and there you go. You will see this is the super user group, and Spider-Man is also part of that group. This is the Spider-Man's own group name and own group ID. So Spider-Man has its own group, and it also belongs to a group called superheroes as well. Now if you notice one here, when you do ls-ltr, the group of Spider-Man right here is still Spider-Man. Why didn't change to superheroes? Because its actual group is Spider-Man will always remain Spider-Man. It is part of the other group as well, which is superheroes. If you want this to change, then you have to run the command change group, and then you specify superheroes, and then you specify Spider-Man. And remember, we have to use -R option to cascade this permission of the group to every folder of the Spider-Man. So let's run this command and now see if it changes from Spider-Man to superheroes. Yes, see, now the user is Spider-Man, the group is superhero. So that's how you use these 5 different commands: user add, user group add, user delete, group delete, and user modification. And the files that it creates as information is the first one is @c password. Let's look at the @c password, cat @c password, and you'll see at the bottom, as you add a new user to the Linux system, it adds the information of the user at the bottom, appends at the bottom. Spider-Man and the spider, the one I created earlier, both are in there. The first column tells you the name, the second one tells you the password, which is encrypted. It's just give you the X. Second one tells you the user ID, and then the group ID. And right here in between these two columns, we didn't specify the description, so it's empty. And then here it's the home directory of the Spider-Man, and then at the end it's the shell the Spider-Man is using. So that's the description of the Etsy password. Let's look at the description of Etsy group. In Etsy group, you have the first is group name, and then the group password, which is the same password that is used for anyone within that group, and then the group ID. The last column that you see here with a few of them, that means that these other users are also part of this group. Then the last file we'll look at is this Etsy shadow. Etsy shadow file is strictly for passwords of users that we create. This does not mean the password right here is the actual password. It's just encrypted so we don't see it. However, it does have some other parameters, like the password does not expire at these many days. There are password length restrictions and so on. You could view that in man command of creating users. You'll get more information about Etsy shadow file. Again, if you are specific about one user, let's say you just wanted to know the information about Spider-Man in Etsy password, you do script Spider-Man Etsy password, and you will only get the information about your matching criteria, which is Spider-Man line. Now we will look at the last example, which is the example that is mostly used in the corporate environment, that they will run one big command that will take care of all the parameters. So let's create a new user, add -G to specify the group, which is, we already have a group, superheroes. And let's look at, let's minimize this so we can move up and view our command. Okay, superheroes. -S means the shell that you want to give. There are different shells. There are bin, bash, corn shell. We'll cover that later. -C is the description. You have to specify the description. Superheroes, you want to create Iron Man, so Iron Man character. Just a description, nothing more than that. Then -M, -D, and specify the home directory, which is home Iron Man space Iron Man. This will create a user Iron Man with all the parameters we have specified. And how do we verify? You just do ID Iron Man, and you'll see that Iron Man is there and is part of the group superheroes. And you could also view it in Etsy password file, and you see at the bottom it's there. Now, one thing that we do have to cover every time you have to create a user, make sure you create its password. So the command to create a password is just simple password Iron Man, enter, specify the password. And the password that I've specified, it says password fails the dictionary check. It is based on a dictionary. You could ignore that as long as you're running as root, but if you're not root, then it's gonna force you to change the password that is not based on dictionary. But again, you are root, you could do anything. So this concludes our lesson for user account management. The basic commands are these 5 commands, and the files that are used to manage this is Etsy password, group, and shadow.